Hello everybody out there watching on YouTube, and welcome to race number 25 of Season 3 NNSCRA Marvel Studios Cup Series. I'm Levi McIntyre, the voice of the NNSCRA Marvel Studios Cup Series, here to welcome you to the Ford 400 here at Homestead-Miami Speedway, as we're getting set for 41 laps of racing here at the oval-shaped mile-and-a-half racetrack, unlike other mile-and-a-half tracks that are more triangular, D-shaped, and whatnot. But anyways, so after tonight, only one race left until the chase, and that is the Southern 500 at Darlington next week. And speaking of the chase, let's take a look and see how the points look coming into the race today. So Dylan Jacobs took the points lead solely by himself over after last week at Las Vegas, and he leads by 12 points over James Qualls. Third is David Rivera, fourth Charles Sanford, fifth Matt McIntyre. Sixth is Austin LaPlante, seventh Joshua Sekuli, eighth Paul Minnick, ninth Johnny Gardner, and then 10th Dylan Young. Currently the drivers who are on the outside looking into the top 10 in points that have to get in to the top 10 if they've got any hope of making the chase. And they are Mark Lane, he comes in 7 points behind Dylan Young. Benjamin Miles in 12th, who comes in 11 points behind 10th. James McLeod in 13th, who comes in 14 points behind. And then Rafael LeDuc, who's actually one of the wildcard drivers, he is actually only 20 points out of the top 10. And then finally Preston Plord in 15th, and he is 32 points out. So those are the most likely drivers that can get into the top 10 in points that are outside looking in. But the wildcard drivers are still Rafael LeDuc and Chris Dollerton for having 2 wins and are outside the top 10, inside the top 30 in points. So really any other driver that's in the top 30 in points but not in the top 10 in points will have to win 2 races in a row, or in some cases 1 race, to try and get a wildcard spot. But anyways, let's go ahead and take a look at the starting lineup. Starting in the last row is Charles Sanford, Matt McIntyre. Top 10, we got a Evernham Motorsports front row, Zachary Fitzwater and Ashland Boyd in the front row with Fitzwater on the pole. Starting in row 2 is Chris Dollerton, Trent Dunham. Row 3, is Jonathan Zorline, Phil Parker. Row 4 is Mark Lane, Dylan Young, and then row 5, James Shelley and Kyle Matthews. Let's go ahead and get the command to fire engines for the Ford 400 at Homestead.
Drivers, start your engines!
So the cars are coming out of pit road using the access road, so if we see green flag pit stops taking place, we're going to have to keep an eye out, because some drivers in the past here at Homestead on the channel, when it came to trying to get on the pit road, some drivers would struggle to get to the access road without overdriving it and then end up coming back across the racetrack and causing a wreck. We've had those kind of moments happen before at Homestead here on this YouTube channel. But in any case, so yeah, Chris Dollerton's going to be one driver to look out for, because he's looking to go for win number 3 this season in hopes of getting an absolute, positively, for sure, guaranteed wild card spot in the chase, because I don't think he's going to be able to make top 10, so he's trying to make sure he is a lock for a wild card spot in the chase. But there are plenty other drivers who want to get a W as well, and it's time to boogity 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 go racing. Well, Zachary Fitzwater led lap number 1, but teammate Ashland Boyd trying to take the lead for himself to get a bonus point for leading a lap. But yeah, you can tell that the chemistry with the 3 drivers at Evernham currently, Ashland Boyd, Zachary Fitzwater, and Paul Minnick, they've gotten along so well as a team that each and every one of them is coming back to their respective rides next season in Season 4. So Evernham may be a team to look out for in Season 4. Meanwhile, back here as the top 2 have pulled away, and actually speaking of Evernham, there's Paul Minnick. He's the last one in the equation left to make it a 1-2-3 right now, and he's got a run on the inside for the 3rd position underneath of Mark Lane, and whoa, major crash I see. Seth Cole gets the wall. Emmanuel Hartnett's turned. I was trying to go up to see what was going on. The caution is out as we have had a 2-car accident take place. Meanwhile, it looks like they're going to, I think they're racing it back. Paul Minnick trying to get up to 3rd so that way he can make it a 1-2-3 Evernham on the next restart. I don't think he got it. I think he lost it to Mark Lane by a bumper, and indeed he did. But we are under caution for the first time now here at Homestead, as we saw a pretty major hard hit wreck, at least from what I could assume. And oh, it looks like some cars are going to come into pit road and they're going to use the access road. Let's watch and see how they do. It looks like they're going to be okay, but Paul Minnick and quite a few other drivers are going to stay out. So Paul Minnick's going to be your race leader. So Evernham Motorsports every one of their drivers will have gotten the lead a lap tonight. But let's go ahead and take you to the replay of what brought the caution out for the first time tonight here at Homestead. Well, it just looked like as if perhaps maybe Seth Cole thought he was clear of the 20 of Emmanuel Hartnett, and Emmanuel Hartnett thought he was clear of the 98, and they just made contact, and man, that is a heavy impact, and that's not a safer barrier. That's a concrete wall, and Seth Cole hit that wall a ton, and you can tell because look at the smoke coming out of the front end. That pretty much signified that his engine pretty much got destroyed as he took that vicious impact. And man, and Seth almost got the 44 of Sean Galligan. That could have been pretty terrible. Emmanuel Hartnett, let's actually look and see if he had any major contact with the wall. He did get it a pretty good amount. Let's see. Yeah, just a little bit on the left rear quarter panel, but other than that, I think perhaps the 20 will still be able to run up to speed. If not, maybe a few miles per hour off, but the 98 I think is the for sure driver done for the day, for sure. But let's go ahead and take you to the restart here at Homestead. Well, as expected, the 1 car out of the race after the first caution was Seth Cole, so tough break for the 98, so his chances of making the chase is looking even grimmer because he needed to get a win and perhaps get another win if he had any hope of making the chase, so I think his chase chances just went out the door. But anyways, back up here at the front, some cars pitted, some stayed out. Paul Minnick is your race leader, 2nd is Preston Plord, 3rd is Dylan Jacobs, 4th is Matt Haas, 5th Chris Michaels, 6th is Anthony McCrory, 7th Dylan Poteet, 8th is Dorian Facepuncher, 9th Dylan Thoreau, 10th Jake Rogers. 11th is Johnny Gardner. 12th is Jessica Shelton. 13th, Raphael LeDuc. 14th is Phil Parker. 15th, Peachy London. 16th, Charles Sanford. 17th, Joshua Sekuli. And then 18th, Sean Galligan, and everyone else behind him pitted. So 19th, Ashland Boyd. 20th, Zachary Fitzwater. The rest of the top 30 is Mark Lane, Benjamin Miles, Chris Dollarton, David Rivera, James Shelley, Trent Dunham, Kyle Keith, Zach Flickinger, Dylan Young, who's got no hood. I don't know if there was contact on pit road. I think there was. And then Tim Walsh, and then it's Kyle Matthews, Jonathan Zorline, Andrew Rich, DJ Curtis, James McLeod, James Qualls, PJ Williams, Austin LaPlante, JT Bryant, Emmanuel Hartnett, Matt McIntyre, and Matt McIntyre has no hood. So yeah, I'm thinking there was some contact with Dylan Young and Matt McIntyre on pit road, and that's why they're damaged. But we're back underway, and Paul Minnick is getting challenged for the lead by fellow Dodge driver Preston Plord, and the points leader Dylan Jacobs is up here in the mix as well. Dylan Jacobs is already locked in to the chase via wins and points. But he is trying to go for more bonus points, because whenever we get to race number 27, the opening chase race, which will be at Arizona in a couple weeks, the points will be reset, and whoever had wins will each get 3 bonus points for each win. Right now, Dylan Jacobs has gotten 2 wins, so he'd get 6 bonus points. But now he's the leader, and if he can win this race, then that'll be another 3 bonus points, and that'd equal up to 9. But here comes Anthony McCurry, a go-or-go-home driver who's just trying to get a win and catch a bit of a break, considering ever since the second half of last season, that 61 team has just gone downhill. But he's looking for an upside, as he will be back in that 61 next season. But he's trying to show that he's got what it takes to win a race. And right now he is up in the front, but Dylan Jacobs is desperate to get more bonus points so he can get an advantage in the chase, and he's got the run to the inside. Dylan Thoreau up here into the mix as well, and here comes Dorian Facepuncher with a run, and he's going to try and challenge Dylan Poteet for the 4th position, at the same time go for 3rd underneath Dylan Thoreau, and oh, contact! Oh, and that is a hard hit for Dylan Thoreau, and he's going to come back up the track. And a follow-up crash. Raphael LeDuc was involved, and up against the wall, Dylan Poteet. Pichu London was in it. Preston Plord, Chris Michaels. A follow-up wreck after the fact, and up here at the front, a race back between the 78 and the 61. It looks like the 78's going to lead at the line, but man, that was a crazy exchange back there. And the 99 of Raphael LeDuc, his chances of making the top 10 in points to carry over bonus points of his wins are not looking great, so he's going to have to rely on the wild card stuff. Preston Pichu London, his chances are getting grimmer as we go along. But pretty much most of the field's coming down, but it looks like Benjamin Miles is going to be your race leader when we get back to green. But we're going to go ahead and take a look at the replay of what brought the caution out for the 2nd time tonight here at Homestead after a crazy wreck that just took place. Well, here's a look at what happened. So after assessing what happened, yeah, right there you see it. It looked like the 40 of Preston Plord got really tight off of 4, and Dylan Poteet at the same time got really loose and became like the meat in the sandwich between the 62 of Dorian Facepuncher and the 11 of Dylan Thoreau, and Thoreau took a hard impact into the inside wall, and then right there you saw contact with the 11 and the 40, and watch when the 40 comes back up in front of traffic. Mayhem. Vicious hit for Dylan Poteet, who goes up into the catch fence. The 21 of Pichu London pretty much pile drove the 31 up into the wall along with the 99. The 17 took a hard impact. Man, just look at Poteet here. Watch Poteet get slammed hard by 2 cars. The 21 and the 17 pretty much shoved him up into the top of the wall and on into the catch fence. So that was a vicious, vicious aftermath from when the 11 hit the wall and came back up into the 40, and the 40 had trouble trying to control his car and came back up in front of traffic and caused mayhem to ensue. But anyways, we're actually going to take a couple onboards in fact. Onboard with Pichu London, and the wreck's going to start up ahead, but the crazy stuff's going to happen when the 40 comes back up the racetrack right here. Wow. Insanity. And finally on board with Dylan Poteet, and watch his perspective after this took place, and watch how hard he gets hit. Man, he got hit hard 3 times up into the catch fence. Well, after that second caution, we got 4 more cars done for tonight, and they include Rafael Leduc, Preston Plourd, Dylan Poteet, and Pichu London. But anyways, back up here at the front, more cars decided to stay out an extra lap, and I'll be honest with you, I am shocked the 11 is still out on the racetrack. He hit head on into the inside wall at 160 miles an hour, but somehow, someway he's on the track, but I feel like he's going to be a hazard as far as speed goes. But anyways, Benjamin Miles is your race leader. Second is Mark Lane. Third is Zach Flickinger. Fourth is Zachary Fitzwater. Fifth, Ashland Boyd. Sixth is Austin LaPlante. Seventh, Anthony McCurry. Eighth, Sean Galligan. Ninth, Dylan Jacobs. 10th is Dorian Facepuncher. 11th is Jake Rogers. 12th is Paul Minnick. 13th is Matt Haas. 14th, Chris Dollerton. 15th, Johnny Gardner. 16th, James Qualls. 17th, Charles Sanford. 18th is PJ Williams, and 19th is JT Bryant. 20th is Jonathan Zorley. 21st is Jessica Sheldon. 22nd, Joshua Sekuli. 23rd is David Rivera. 24th, Emmanuel Hardnett. 25th, Trent Dunham. 26th, Matt McIntyre. 27th, Phil Parker. 28th, James Shelley. 29th, James McLeod. 30th, Kyle Matthews. Then it's Tim Walsh, Andrew Rich. I want to say that's DJ Curtis. And right there's Kyle Keith, Dylan Young, and Chris Michaels. But back up here at the front with less than 24 laps to go. Still a long way to go here tonight at Homestead. And Benjamin Miles is your race leader, even though he stayed out under that last caution. Leads that lap, but Mark Lane in that Oreo Ritz Ford in his farewell season this season was in the top 10 last week in the point standings, but after a tough time back at Las Vegas, he ended up finishing, I believe, in the 30s, and he fell outside the top 10 from 7th to 11th in points, and he comes into the race 7 points out of the top 10. But right now, he finds himself up here in the lead, and he is trying to go for win number 1 this season and number 4 in his career. He won 3 times in his rookie year last season. And now here comes Miles underneath again, and Miles is another guy. This is a great battle we got going on between the 55 and the 41, because these two are fighting hard to get into the top 10 in points. Miles comes in 12th in the points, 11 points out of 10th, and 4 points behind Mark Lane. And here comes an early leader of the race, Ashland Boyd, up here at the front. As the field has gotten separated somehow, and I think it was mostly because of the 11 being in the way, but everyone's still relatively close. There is a bit of a gap between 8th and 9th that's starting to close back up. But yeah, this is a great fight, because these are two guys fighting desperately to try to get into the top 10 in points in some way, shape, or form, and also both guys trying to go for their first win this season. And now Mark Lane with that run on the inside leads that lap. And Ashland Boyd, who, if I recall, I think did win a race earlier this season. I can't remember off the top of my head where it was. But he's trying to go for win number 2. And underneath of him coming up is Anthony McCurry. Though McCurry kind of took that corner a little bit. I think he looked like he got a little bit loose and had to catch his car a little bit. But he's still up here in 4th. As I'm trying to look on, there's Austin LaPlante, who had a great race last week at Las Vegas, picked up his first win of the season, and moved up to 6th in the point standings. Got a little bit of a cushion, though he comes into the race only 29 points ahead of 11th, so he's not totally out of the woods yet. But if he were to come out with a good finish here tonight, then it will give him a much more comfortable cushion to try and make the top 10. Oh, Ashland Boyd slowing down. He's going to come into pit road. Oh, really overdrove the access road. Really big time where he's on the apron, but I think he'll be able to make it on pit road okay, and indeed he does. And so far it looks like he is the only one who elected to come into pit road for now. Perhaps some strategy for later on in the run. Oh, but I see Mark Lane, Benjamin Miles, they're going to sacrifice the top 2 spots. Oh, this could end badly if they're not careful. I think so far they're okay. I'm just trying to keep an eye out to make sure they don't crash each other, trying to get on pit road. But up here at the front, it is Galligan with the lead, with a familiar rival, Anthony McCurry, from back in the days in the Snickers Cup Series over on the NNSCRA channel. Little bit of deja vu between these two, and a lot of history between these two, and they will be back for more in Season 4. Galligan has the lead, but McCurry's got the run on the inside. But I think Galligan led that lap, and indeed he did. Now McCurry's got the bigger run, and he's got the 44 cleared now. But yeah, still a lot of drivers yet to come into pit road. They're all deciding to stay out. Although here comes LaPlante. Just as I say that, LaPlante comes into pit road. It looks like he's the only one out of everyone that's on track still that elected to come down pit road. Back up here at the front, McCurry still has the spot, but Galligan's not giving up easily. And look at Charles Sanford, top 5 in points, trying to make sure he can get a locked-in spot in the chase via point standings. Jonathan Zorline coming down. Looks like he's going to go into pit road. JT Bryant, Chris Dollarton both go in. And so does Emmanuel Hartnett. But yeah, Charles Sanford, he comes into the race 4th in the points. And has a 70-point advantage over 11th in the points. So if he were to just finish the race in a decent spot, like in the top 20, he'll be good to go to make it in on points for 100% sure. But he goes into pit road, and the battle between McCurry and Galligan still goes on as it's 11 to go at the line. Dorian Facepuncher, who got caught up in that last wreck. Oh, and the caution is out again. I'm trying to see what it was for. Oh, and it's a 3-car accident involving Johnny Gardner, Andrew Rich, and I think it was Dylan Young. Caution out once again. But man, we had an excellent green flag run right there towards the end, but caution comes out once again. So now the question is, for some of these drivers that have stayed out for the past 5-6 laps, are they going to come into pit road? And it looks like the answer is yes, they are going to come into pit road. Yeah, look at the damage done to the 2 of Dylan Young. That tough break for the 2, so he is definitely going to have to step it up next week at Darlington, because he came in 10th in the points But now he's going to end up falling back quite a good bit. Probably on back to right around 14th, I want to say. Because LeDuc is done for the day. Preston Plord's done. Hartnett's not made much progress. Seth Cole and Poteet are done. So Dylan Young's going to have to step it up next week at Darlington if he's going to have any chance of making the chase. But we got a new leader, Jessica Sheldon. She stays out under caution. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the replay of what did bring the caution out for the third time tonight here at Homestead. Well, ladies and gentlemen, something like this was bound to happen at some point in the race. As you see, Johnny Gardner completely overdrove the access road, comes up in front of Phil Parker, and then is going to slide right up the racetrack, and then Andrew Rich had nowhere to go. He had no idea the 7 was back up the racetrack and collects the 56, and the 7 took a pretty hard lick into the outside wall. But then watch Dylan Young. He's going to come into this and wham, right into the 7, and then a pretty hard, really hard hit into the outside wall. Went up on 2 wheels. So, pretty hard wreck once again. Man, we've had a lot of hard hits tonight. You know, I mean, the speeds and the G-forces are going to be big here at this racetrack. But anyways, let's go ahead and take you to the restart here at Homestead. Well, after that last caution, 3 more cars are done for the day, and they are Dylan Young, Johnny Gardner, and Andrew Rich. A lot of cars went a lap down because they got caught a lap down while in pit road while that caution came out. So we're going to have a mix-up in the running order right now, but Jessica Sheldon is your leader. Second is all the way back here, Anthony McCrory, who's so many car lengths behind. Anyways, third, Sean Galligan. Fourth, Dorian Facepuncher. Fifth, David Rivera. Sixth, Joshua Sekuli. Seventh, James Qualls. Eighth, Paul Minnick. Ninth, James McLeod. 10th, Matt Haas. 11th is Trent Dunham. 12th is DJ Curtis. 13th, Kyle Keith. 14th, Kyle Matthews. 15th, Tim Walsh. 16th, Dylan Jacobs. 17th, Jake Rogers. And then 18th, James Shelley. Those are all the cars that are on the lead lap. Everyone else is lapped down, so they include Charles Sanford, Phil Parker, PJ Williams, Matt McIntyre, Jonathan Zorling, Chris Michaels, Emmanuel Hartnett, JT Bryant, Mark Lane, Benjamin Miles, Austin LaPlante, Zach Flickinger, Ashwin Boyd, Zachary Fitzwater, Chris Dollarton, and Dylan Thoreau. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this race is pretty much guaranteed to the O2 unless something really crazy happens. Say, like, if there's a caution that comes out immediately, then I don't know what could happen. But Sheldon has the lead as I'm going to try and find McCrory. There he is, and he's getting challenged by Sean Galligan for second. As there's lap traffic all over the place. Oh, Sheldon! Sheldon, she sacrificed the lead to go into pit road! Oh, that is a big game changer. Huge game changer, so that helped open a door for someone else to win the race. Right now, I believe it's Galligan with the spot. Dorian Facepuncher right on his back bumper. But again, there is lap traffic everywhere. And I mean everywhere, where there's not going to be much room for passing for these leaders. But you will see what happens. Galligan has the spot, Facepuncher right on his tail. Sekuli's up here. McCrory's into the picture. Less than 4 to go here at Homestead. Galligan trying to go for win number 1 this season. Dorian Facepuncher's thinking deep down for Chris Dollarton, who's right in front of the 44, to try and force the 44 up high so he can go on low for the position. Dorian Facepuncher comes into this race somewhere in the top 30, but he is pretty far back to try and get in the top 10. So he'd have to win here and then win Darlington if he's going to have any hope of getting the wild card spot. One of the wild card spots, I should say. Well, Face Puncher thought about using the apron, but he's broken free of the 44 with 2 to go, but he couldn't quite make it work. And here comes Sekuli with a run. Didn't quite make it, but Face Puncher does have the run on the inside of Galligan. Battle for the lead and potentially the win between the 62, the 44, and the 79. It looks like it's going to come down to one of these three, but Face Puncher clears the 44. White flag is out here at Homestead. Face Puncher has the spot, but Sekuli is hot on his tail. And for Face Puncher, he's got 2 young motorsports teammates ahead of him, Dollarton and Parker. Face Puncher's hoping that they let him go so that way he can hold off the 79, and it looks like they're going to let him do that. We're coming to the checkered flag, and the winner, Dorian Face Puncher, wins the Ford 400 at Homestead. After a crazy situation with Jessica Sheldon where she had to come to pit road, it opened the door for everyone who was stuck in between her and the lap cars to somehow battle it out, and Face Puncher gets a win, but he isn't guaranteed for the chase. If he's going to have any hope of making the chase, he's going to have to win next week at Darlington in hopes of trying to get a wild card spot for the chase. But let's go ahead and take you to the rest of the results, as we just had a Galligan retire, and I don't think he really did. But anyways, Joshua Sekuli gets a great run in second, so that gives him a cushion to stay ahead of the top, stay ahead of 11. So that could potentially lock the 79 into the chase regardless of points or wins. Anthony McCrory Sean Galligan finishing out in third. McCrory with a great run in fourth. Matt Haas with a great finish in fifth. DJ Curtis, he's trying to make something work here in these final couple races before the chase, finishing sixth. Paul Minnick with a great run in seventh. That could potentially have locked him into the chase via points. Maybe. It depends on what the points will look like. James McLeod gets a great run in eighth, but he's not completely out of the woods yet. He's going to probably barely make the top 10, if not be right on the outside looking in. Tim Walsh with a solid run in ninth, and then Dylan Jacobs, the points leader, finishing out in 10th. Rest of the top 20 was James Shelley, Kyle Matthews, Jake Rogers. James Qualls locks himself into the chase. Same with David Rivera via points. Then Mark Lane, Ashland Boyd, P.J. Williams, Phil Parker, Chris Dollarton. Then the rest of the cars either finished one lap down or more. And they were Trent Dunham, Charles Sanford, Zach Flickinger, J.T. Bryant, Jonathan Zorline, Benjamin Miles, Zachary Fitzwater, Austin LaPlante, Matt McIntyre, Chris Michaels, and then Emmanuel Hartnett, Kyle Keith, Jessica Sheldon, and Dylan Thoreau. And then everybody else was out of the race after all the wrecks that occurred, and they were Dylan Young, Johnny Gardner, Andrew Rich, Rafael LeDuc, Preston Blord, Dylan Poteet, Pichu London, and Seth Cole. So gonna be a massive point shakeup going into the chase cutoff race, which is next week, which will be the Southern 500 at Darlington. But until then, here are your results, rookie points and regular points heading into Darlington, and this is Levi McIntyre signing off.